Before we begin, kindly ensure that your application is connected to a database. If that is done, let's go ahead and implement registration. So first, a user will have to provide their details, and then we will have to send those details to the server. Let's implement the logic to grab those details. So here I'll come and say data. Then I'll return an object. And in here I'm going to say fields, and it will be empty by default. Then up here I'm going to say fields.name. Sorry, not fields. Let me cut this. Should be inside a v model. So v model fields.name, and what we are saying there is that if a user provides something in the input, so we will have fields.name, and then the value will be whatever they provide in the form. So the name will be the property. So that explained. I'll do the same for email and password. So email input, change that to email. Then password, change that to password. Then for confirm password, change that to confirm password. And actually, I'm going to change this. And that's because Laravel expects this to be password confirmation when we are registering. So I'll change this so that we don't have issues down the line to password confirmation. Yeah, that's good. Then when a user clicks the submit button, let's listen for a submit event. So at submit, then let's prevent the default behavior. And then after that, let's call a submit method. Then down here, let's go ahead and create that method. So I'll say methods, and that is submit. And for now, I'm just going to console log the fields. So this dot fields. So let's test that and see if it's working. So I'll go to the browser. This is what we have. So let's fill the form, hit submit, and there we go. We get the object. We have name, email, and password. So that's working. So the next thing, we need to send those details to the server to be registered. So for that, we can write the logic to register a user manually, or we can use a package. In this tutorial, we'll use a package. So let's go to the documentation. And here I'm going to search for Fortify. Then I'll go to installation. Then run this. I've already done that. So run this to install it. Then run this to install to publish the resources. Then migrate your migrations. Then after that, come here and copy this line. Then go to your providers, that is inside your configuration app.php. Let's go there. So configuration app.php, and here where we have providers, paste yours here. So here is mine. I had already pasted it. Then go to configuration fortify.php. Then scroll down here where we have views. So this is for the routes for authentication. And since we are not using the Laravel routes, we have our login and registration in the front end, and it's being controlled by view router. So we don't need these routes. So I'll change this to false. Then at the bottom, these are the features that Laravel Fortify comes with. For this tutorial, we're only going to use the registration feature. So I'm going to comment out the rest. And that way I will have disabled them. Then save. Then let's see the routes that have been created by Fortify for us. So I'll run php add send route list. I have a typo. So you can see here we have for registration, we have this register, then registered user controller, then it hits the store method. So let's go ahead and define that in our API. So here we will have our public routes here. So let's say route, the method is post. Then let's go to register, and after that we are going to load the registered user controller, registered user controller. There we go. Then it's a class, then the method is store, and we are done with that. So let's go to our register, and here we are going to use Axios, which comes by default with Laravel, so we don't need to do anything. So we'll say Axios dot the method is post. So we are going to /API /register, and I'm using API because the routes in this file, they get prefixed with the word API. So come back here. Then after that, what do you want to send to the server? It's this dot fields. Then if that is successful, we'll say dot then. If that is successful, we'll have a callback function here. And what do you want to do? So we will redirect the user to the dashboard. So this dot router dot push, then the name of the route, and that is dashboard. What if we have an error? So we will say dot catch, and for now we will just console log the error. So console log the error. Okay, let's test this and see if it's working. So go to the browser. This is our application. We will fill our form, then sign up. Yeah, and it worked. So we were redirected to the dashboard. Let's check our network. So here's the request that we made. So we can see we hit this endpoint, API /register post method, and it was successful. So if we check the database as well, we see a user was created. So now our registration is working. Let's go ahead and implement validation. So when you come here, so we are console logging the errors. Let's see what that is giving us. So I'll go to registration, register, then console, then sign up without providing anything, and we get this object. And then when we try to expand it, we see here we have response, then inside response we have data, then inside data we have errors, then inside errors is where we have our errors: email field required, name, and password. So let's go ahead and console log that. So that was error dot response dot data. Was it? Let's see. So error dot response dot data. Let's start again. Error response data errors. Okay, after data it's errors. Let's see what that will give us. Come back, clear that again, and yes, we get an object of arrays. So to output those errors in on our UI, what we will do is that we'll come here. I will create another object, errors, and have it as empty by default. And then here I'm going to say this dot errors. So just in case we have errors, it will be equal to whatever we have here. So I'll cut that and have that here, and we don't need that. Then to output that, I'll come here, I'll have a span tag. Okay, and I'll say vif errors dot name is true. So remember, errors is an object. If we come back here, so we are checking errors dot name. If we have something, then that's when we want to display something here. So let's come back. If errors dot name is true, so we want to output errors dot name, and that will give us an array, as you can see here. So if you open this errors dot name, this is an array, and the error that we want is the first element. So that is it's in index 0. So we can come here and say give us errors dot name, then in the array give us the index 0, and I'll give this a class of error to style it a bit. Then I'm going to grab this and do the same thing for email. Then just change this to email. Then do the same for the password and change this to password. And then we don't need for password confirmation. Then I'm going to add that error class. So I'll go to my CSS. Then I have that class here, so I'll just uncomment it. So we're just adding giving it a color of red, some margins, and giving it a display of block. We'll save that and let's see that if it's working. So if I come back and try to submit, we get the errors straight from the server. If I try, the email field is required, and if I try to give something that is not a valid email, it changes to the email must be a valid email address. So validation and registration is working. Next, let's see how to display the name of the registered user here dynamically. See you then. Cheers.